everything I've been through and everything that I've seen has turned me into the woman that you see. Behind all of the smiles and all your favorite melodies, for a fistful of tears, years full of pain.
Hi, I am Leonette Talley, and you're listening to Virago 24/7. Virago is Latin for female warrior, and 24/7 is all day, every day. I bring women on the show from all walks of life, and we talk about anything going on in our lives and in our world. Here you will find everyday growth, everyday healing, and everyday warriors. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Virago 24/7. I am here today with two of my lovely, lovely lady friends, Suzlynn, who's been on the show before. Hello, Suzlynn.
Hello.
And we have Lindsey Yoder joining us for the very first time. Hello, Lindsey.
Hello. Nice to see you. Glad to be here.
Yeah, I love having my friends on. This is like so much fun for me because, yeah, we're talking about deep stuff sometimes, but, you know, it's with good friends, right? So today I chose these two to come on to talk about anxiety and depression. And the three of us have experience with that. And with me, it's not something, it's just interesting because I feel like there's a lot of us that suffer with anxiety and depression. And those words are thrown out all, out there like, oh, anxiety, depression. But it's like, do we really know what that looks like? And I feel like there's more women that experience it that we don't know because we don't talk about it, because we have to look perfect on the outside and get our kids to school on time and cook dinner and go to work and all these things and just do it looking flawless. And I just want to be real and raw about how, that could be happening on the surface, but on the inside, there's a lot of, like with me, anxiety. It's a tightness in the chest, a tightness in the gut. And yeah, so we're here to talk about those things and being real about it. Suzlynn?
And, too, just to kind of stack on that, just to give, people an understanding of, the feeling of anxiety is, it's like a storm within yourself, and you're trying to figure out how to calm that storm. And, a lot of times it gets overwhelming to the point where, a lot of people, and I have too, and I'm sure Leonette and Lindsey, you can speak up on that is, I've had anxiety attacks, to where they've overtaken me and caused me to really not be able to do anything. All the things that you want to do, anxiety steals that from you until you figure out, how to get help with it. And I think, a lot of times it's harder, especially as a believer. I like to kind of come from that perspective because, for so many years, I've been told that that's just something you don't talk about. Like you're supposed to have faith about it and there's something wrong, and there's nothing wrong with you. God didn't make you broken. It's just sometimes things have happened in our life, whether it started at childhood or whenever it started, and it opened up different places and spaces in our life that caused us to have anxiety. And a lot of times you don't even know that you had anxiety until, you start asking somebody else, like, what is this? Like, I'm feeling like, I can't breathe, and a lot of times it comes through just experiences. I mean, for me, it's like trying to get down to the root of where it's stemming from is probably one of the hardest things because I used to think that, it came from one place, but then I can't seem to figure out, no, it didn't come from there. And for me, it's just, to say as a believer, and it's so weird because you want to say, I don't need to, talk to a doctor. For me, I'm real big on just, natural things. So for me to say I have to go to the doctor to figure out how can I deal with this, to pause it for a minute so I can look on the inside and figure out where the root of this is coming from. And that's where I am today, to say that, I deal with anxiety. And to me, anxiety and depression are connected together because there might be a day I have anxiety, but it's like when the anxiety calms itself, here comes depression. I'm like, I just got over anxiety and depression is trying to creep to the door. So it's a lot harder sometimes because you're fighting a couple battles at one time. You're fighting the battle of anxiety, you're fighting the battle of depression, and then you're trying, and then the other battle is saying everything's okay. Well, everything is not okay. And it's okay to say, I'm not okay. And then I'm still trying to keep my family together, and you all, y'all have families. You're trying to, be the superwoman. So you've got to be the entrepreneur. You've got to make sure your kids are confident in what they do, that they don't fall into anxiety. So there's a lot of things that you're responsible for as a woman in your household. And, especially as a mother, that you have to stand tall in while you're fighting your own battles within yourself. And I think sometimes those are the hardest battles, are the battles that you fight within, which is my battle is anxiety and depression. Yeah. And a lot of people, they look at me because I speak a lot and, and they know my walk with God, but I've been, fighting depression for a while. So once I realized that something, we're not going to be able to fight this on our own. This is getting a lot bigger than what I thought. And I think we need to, seek out somebody who can help me fight this, together, because I've tried to fight it on my own and I'm not winning.
Yeah, it's interesting that, one, Leanna, I want to honor you for having this podcast.
Thank you.
Yes.
We are so proud of you for stepping out and doing this.
Thank you.
It is really exciting.
Well, it's something that I wanted to do for a long time. And then it just, self-confidence lacks a little bit. And you're like, no, who wants to listen to me? But now I'm like, I don't care. My friends will listen to me. Somebody, one person.
I want to listen to you.
That's right.
Somebody out there will listen to me.
You got things to say. And so I just want to honor you for stepping out and doing this. So just really happy to be here.
Thanks.
And meet a new friend and then talk with my friend who I do love and adore. And I want to, a couple things that both of you have mentioned are how anxiety or depression feels in your body. You've mentioned kind of like a tightness in the chest. Suzlynn, you mentioned like a storm, like how that might feel. And a large part of my story is that I did not know, I have been very detached from my body. So it's been very difficult for me to identify what that feels like. So in my therapy work, my therapist will ask me, how does that make you feel? And I tell her all kinds of things. And she says, those are thoughts. How does it make you feel? And I say, I'm sorry, what do you mean? Like I literally don't know what you mean when you say, how does that make you feel? So even just the amount of work demonstrated in both of your ability to identify tightness in the chest, trouble breathing, heart racing, saliva in your mouth. Like I know people who's like their armpit sweat or whatever it is. That is a significant amount of work to even be able to identify how it happens in your body, because our bodies know. And so she tells me first, what's going on. And so need to learn to listen to her. She has a wisdom that I need to know in my thinking brain. But for me, it's been a long history of ignoring that.
So you just walked around with those feelings, not knowing what it was?
not knowing how to identify when they were happening. So for me, like control is one of my biggest vices. I was
going to say that.
Yeah, that's right. Like, so
and I things being out of control for me.
Very much. Yeah. So like not knowing, I knew I would experience the moments of like, I feel kind of frantic right now, trying to like, let me bark at my kids about their stuff on the floor.
Yes.
What feels like out of nowhere. It feels out of nowhere because I haven't felt that my chest was tight. I didn't feel that my gut was tight. Like I didn't feel those sensations. And so the freaking out about something that I want to just, if I can't control other things, let me control my people and my space.
Yes.
So again, I want to honor that. Like even just knowing what it feels like in your body is no small task. Like that is a big hurdle for people. And so, like I said, with my therapist, her saying like, those are thoughts.
So you're like, you're not really feeling. Yeah.
That's right.
I love how you said the whole control thing, because that's where I get my anxiety from, is things being out of place. Like, that spoon doesn't belong there. It's dirty. Why didn't you put a plate underneath the spoon? Because there's stuff going to be on the counter. Stuff that's so freaking silly that I look at other people and they have their stuff all over the place. And I'm like, okay, well, that works for you. But for me, I would rip my head off. And just teaching myself, I've had to learn, because it was out of control when the kids were little. It was just out of control. I was such a little witch with a B, when they were little, because everything was just so chaotic and so out of control that I would take it out on my husband, my sweet, sweet husband. Sorry, Philip. And I did. I'm not even going to lie. Just like going crazy over nothing, over just things not being in order. And I get it from my mother. Sorry, Mom, but I get it from her. Yeah. She's the same way. Yeah. Super OCD. My brother has it. They're not clinically diagnosed, but that's what they have. Like this book right here, she'll know that you moved it here. This book belongs right here. Like, who moved my book? It's something so crazy. And I've had to learn. I've taught myself, I don't know how, with lots of prayer, to just say, Leonette, that's very small. In the grand scheme of life, is that going to bother you? I mean, it does, but I'm going to try to let it go.
I do think that, like, as you acknowledge those behaviors, those patterns, another thing for me is to try to be very kind to myself as I learn those. So, like, even those like that, I recognize, like, that is the need for control. Let me try to control this space. Let me try to keep a clean space or an orderly space, whatever it is ultimately a coping mechanism. Yeah. And so to be kind to yourself, that has been your compulsion to try to protect yourself. And so to view that very kindly, like to not look back on your former self and get mad at her for doing what she felt like she needed to do, to protect herself. So you go, okay, but so it wasn't really about the book or the spoon. Like, so no, what, like you said, Suzlynn, like what is it really about? And that's where you're right. You need professional help to do that. Growing up, in my experience,
things were out of control for me.
Agreed.
I had zero control over anything. Things just happened. And so, so it's like, okay, well, this little bit that I can control, even as small as keeping a clean home and things in order and things in its place. And same with my mom. She didn't have a lot of control when she was younger. So I think that's where it stems from. Because, okay, now I can control this. And when it's out of order and somebody else messed it up, you freak out on them. And it's not fair to that person. You know what I'm saying? And so I'm learning. And
But, too, to stack on, what Lindsey had said, because you said something, it takes a lot of courage to even acknowledge that, what you're talking about with me and Leonette is the internal work. And that's what someone helps you to get down to, is doing the internal work, because the internal work, you got to dig a lot deeper. That's why when they go to ask you questions, they need to know what are you feeling? Like, what does that feel like? When that comes on you, what does that feel like? Well, I feel edgy. I feel like I'm snapping on every single body. I feel out of control when I need to have control. That means, do I lay in the bed? Do I go out? It means so many things, the feelings. But one thing that I've learned is, because I'm a perfectionist, I like things to be a certain kind of way. And when I don't have, it's kind of like what you just said, when I don't have things in order and I don't have control of it, I don't like that feeling. I don't like not being able to control what's within me and saying, here's something that's happening within me, and I feel like I cannot gain control over it, and that's what I have a problem with. So a lot of times what we would do, or what I would do, is just kind of throw it to the side and say, I have other more important things, meaning myself I'm gonna put to the side because everybody else is more important. And then over a period of time, what happened, it built up, and now I realize that we have a problem. So now that there's a problem, I'm a problem solver. So now it had, it's gotten to a point where I have to say and admit to myself, Lord, I need help. Like, I really need help. And if that means me being on medication to find the root of the problem, because I don't believe in staying on medication, but if it's going to help me to get down to the root, because for me, in order for me to overcome, it's important for me not just to it's not just for me to overcome it. I need to understand, how did we get here? Because what door was open in my life that caused that anxiety to creep in? Where did that door open at? Because in order for me to shut any door in my life, I have to know where it came from. And where it came from might not be exactly where I thought it came from. Maybe it came somewhere else. So, and it's just admitting too, I mean, it's making time for yourself.
Have you figured that out for yourself, where it's coming from?
No, that's why.
You're still figuring it out.
That's why we have a follow-up appointment, tomorrow with the doctor to figure this out, and I'm okay with that, now, because I'm okay with me. I'm confident in who I am and where I am in my life. And I do, like Lindsey was saying, I'm kind to Suzlynn. So being kind to Suzlynn is, it's respecting her and saying, hey, let's sit down and just figure out, what the problem is and where it's coming from. And in order to do that, it may require medication, and I'm okay with that. You know what I mean? I'm okay with any backlash on what anybody would say, because when people are honest, we all deal with a lot of different things. It's just sometimes you don't know what that is that you're dealing with. Like Lindsey was saying, it's anxiety instead of an attitude problem. You know what I mean? You just don't know. You got to identify the problem in order to solve the problem. If you don't even know that you have a problem and you're saying, well, I'm just having a bad day. No, actually, you're having anxiety. I mean, it's real simple. And we all suffer from a lot of things, even depression. I feel like depression, I would almost say almost all people suffer with depression to a certain degree. Some people can manage it. Some people have to, be on medications, and some people, just feel like, no, I'm okay. No, I believe a lot of people deal with depression. I think it's a hush hush thing, especially as a believer. Absolutely. You know what I mean? I just think people don't want to talk about it because it's like, something's wrong with me. There's nothing wrong with you. Situations happen in your life, and situations happen in your family's life that may have affected you, that caused you to be depressed. Yeah. You know what I mean?
There's a great book I would recommend to your listeners by Dr. Bessel van der Kolk that's titled The Body Keeps the Score. The subtitle is Brain, Mind, and the Body in the Healing of Trauma. And it is about how our bodies store trauma in different places and in different parts of our brains that make it difficult to access. So I was in talk therapy probably starting 10 years ago. Did that for probably a year. Probably right for a year at that time. But then started back 2 years ago with a different therapist and started doing some different types of therapy. And so in this book, it covers how your neurological system works, how your brain works, and how there are, like you said, Suzlynn, things that have happened to you that are not stored in your thinking brain. So even as you're going, why is this so deep? Why did I fly off the handle? Like, why did that trigger me so? And that your body stores those things. So this concept of the body keeps the score. And there's the therapy that I did with my therapist is called EMDR, which is eye movement desensitization and reprocessing. EMDR. And it is about going back into your accessing the parts of your brain where trauma is stored, which again is not in your thinking brain, like is not as accessible as in like a talk therapy of like, well, how did that make you feel? So you go back into memories and you identify where some of those root traumas lie. Now this could be like big T trauma, like something serious happened to you. Mine is more of a little T trauma. I have a family that loved me, parents who are married, well loved and taken care of. But there are traumatic memories in which they're called negative cognitions that took root in my heart and in my mind and that have shaped me ever since. So in this therapy, you identify a memory of when that landed, and then you reprocess it with a positive cognition over top of it. So and again, the memory that came up, you're really trusting your brain through this therapy to like bring this memory to mind. And the memory of course, I remember the event like that came up in my therapy, but I'm like, that little thing, like that That was it. That was the root of it. And for me, my negative cognition is I'm defective. And so like Suzlynn, you talking about this concept of like there's believing so deeply that there's something wrong with you.
And you're broken and you're not, God didn't make you like that.
That's right.
You know, experiences open you up to that though. And I think once you can, and it's such a deep thing. And that's why, you know, one of the things I want people to understand, because I had to get to this place of, you have to get to a place of maturity to say, I can sit down with God and say, Lord, I have a problem. And I know that I'm not broken. And I know you didn't make me broken like that. But, you know, I want help and I don't know how to do this, you know, the way that, you know, I've been taught to do other things. So that was hard for me because, you know, for me, I believe God is a healer. So here I am, I'm unhealed and I'm like, what is wrong? What's wrong with me? Yes. Why can't I lay hands on myself and I'm good? Well, every process is different. And it's not just about walking through the process. It's what you learn through the process, you know, and it's willing to go back. What you just said, you know, earlier, which is, that's a hard place. I
was going to say that too.
You talked about, I almost felt like crying when you said that.
Me too.
Because I mean, you really touched my heart in a place, and Lynette, you know, can know. I mean, Lynette knows, you know, a lot of things happen in your childhood. And so, you know, those are life triggers. So you saying something like that just triggers me back. And I had traumatics, you know, I mean, my dad, just to touch on it, you know, I was in, not just scared of him, I was in terror of my dad. I mean, to the point where it was just traumatic. So you see what I mean? So it can trigger all the way back to your childhood. That's why I tell people how you lay the foundation in your kid's life is everything. Because it can affect you and infect you as you become an adult. And then when you look back, it's almost as if you're there. It's almost as if you're there. You can go back to that memory and you're saying, oh my God, I don't even know, Lord, if I can walk through this door, because if this is where you're saying my anxiety came from, I'm just not sure I'm going to be able to do this today. I'm not going to be able to do this one today. And he's like, no, I got you. You're at a great place right now. You're strong enough. Even though you don't think you're strong, I'm going to walk with you. And you're like, I don't know. This is a little hard. Those are hard places. But in order to overcome something, you have to be willing to face it. And that's where you and God meet, where you're going to have to be willing to face it. Because whatever you're willing to face, you can and you will overcome. But if you're not willing to face it, you can't overcome it. And my goal is not just for me to overcome it. In order for me to overcome something, anybody who knows me, I want to be able to go back and show somebody else the way. How am I going to show them the way out if I haven't made it out? So my whole goal with even sitting down with the doctor is not just about me to suppress it. No, I need to figure it out. Like we're going to pause for a cause and then we're going in to find out. That's I have a plan already.
No, that's good, Suzlynn, because really, so for me, going back to the whole childhood thing. So besides anxiety, I think I was like 12 years old, because I remember we lived in Switzerland and those were like middle school years, but panic attacks. And I had to research that. I turned 40 last year. So literally maybe a year or two ago, I had to research what is a panic attack. And it's your heart racing. It's imagine you're exercising and you're running your hardest. And then at the end, it's just like bumping out of your chest. But that happens when you're just sitting, sleeping, just thinking. And I've had panic attacks since I was 12 years old. And throughout the years, I'm like, okay, well, you know, whatever, you know, you don't really think much about it when you're little. And then in my 20s, I went and got checked. Oh, you're fine. You're young. Every time it's like, you're stressed, you know, and in my 30s, I went again and no, you're fine. And so no one ever diagnosed it. So, and then my dad died of heart issues. He had a heart attack in his 30s. And then and then ultimately died because of his heart. And so I'm thinking, you know, I'm about to be 40. I got to get it checked out one more time. And maybe they'll take me seriously because I'm about to be 40. And so in 2018, for some reason that year, I was having them, like in the past, it'd be, you know, maybe once a month, maybe once every few months. But in 2018, it was weekly, to the point where I was having them at, you know, when we worked out. And I'm just like, what the heck is going on with me? Why, out of all the years, this is the year that it's just really just, you know, a little extra. So I went to the doctor and I'm like, And I told everybody, I have heart issues, right, Lindsay? You're one of those people. I'm having a heart attack. I don't know what's happening. And I just told everybody. So I go and the nurse is like, I explained everything. And she's like, she looked at me eye to eye and I might start crying, but she's like, you're fine. We'll get you checked out. We'll send you to a cardiologist. But she's like, honey, these are panic attacks and it's not physical. She said it in a sweet way, but basically it's in my head. It's something up here. And she's like, and there's medication for that. And I just looked at her and I was just like, I would much rather you say that I have high blood pressure or high cholesterol, because there's medication for that. And you can say, oh, there's a reason for that. But when it's mental, for some reason, it's something that switches in your brain. We're just like, what the heck is wrong with me? But finally, I was so thankful, even though it just broke my heart. I was so thankful that finally they put a name to what's been happening. She's the only person. And this happened, I'm 38 years old. This has been happening since I was 12. And finally, they're like, panic attack. I'm like, I went home, I researched it, I talked to friends. I was literally cried for one day because I'm like, medication or no medication? Like, what do I do? But if it's going to help me just for that, like you said, Suzlynn, for that moment, then let me do it. So I got on medication. I started taking Zoloft and I got off of it actually earlier this year. I kind of weaned myself off of it by myself. And they tell you not to do that. But it's 2020. And then I figured out, I just said, I feel good. I don't need it anymore. But honestly, my journey started, like my true journey in 2018, to really dig deep as to why and for there to be an actual name. And the medication did help tremendously. I stopped having them. I was still having them. And then, you have to do follow-up appointments to get your refills. And they're like, you shouldn't have any at all. You shouldn't go through life having any kind of anything like holding on to you like that. And, so honestly, I really haven't had any, and I don't know if it's because I'm not seeing a therapist, but I am digging deep as to what it is. And yeah, man, childhood sucks sometimes. I'm telling you, like these parents, and I just pray that I'm not damaging my kids. My little dude has started, but my little dude actually started having panic attacks about a year ago after his arm broke.
Wow.
But we jumped on it. We jumped on it and I'm like, dude, it's normal. I go through it. And so now he's like, fine, because we're talking about it. But when you don't have somebody there to talk to you about things, they dismiss you.
Well, that you've been through. See, you were able to direct him where we didn't have the direction or the guidance. We were trying to figure it out, all on our own. Soon as you saw it, that's the beautiful thing about when you've gone through certain things, you can turn around and say, this is what we're going to do. And this is how you'll be okay. Yeah. You know what I mean? I wish I had that. And I wish I had somebody to say, you're going to be okay. Yeah. Because, like you said, it's a mental thing. And you're like, man, this is, it's hard. But, one of the things I want to say, because when you were talking and stuff, I was thinking
I'm sorry, I cried.
Trusting.
Don't you dare.
I want to talk about, and Lindsey can chime in on this also, but, I want to talk about, just trusting the process, and understanding the journey and what God is doing. That's why we have to understand. I know we want to be already healed and already over it, but you got to understand there's something to be learned all the way through the process. You know what I mean? Because God does multiple things at one time. He's healing so many different areas that got you to that place. You might think it's one thing, and he says, you don't even understand. We're talking about 10 years of undoing, the redo, unlearning, the relearn. So you got to understand, it's like a new chapter, but we got to find the root of it. In order to find the root of it, we got 5 to 10 years to undo. But it's going to be a quick work because you're willing to face it. But the destination, how a lot of people say there's no destination. Well, I beg to differ because I have an understanding on it now. The destination is freedom. Freedom is not something that's given to you. I found that freedom is a place. Freedom is a place that God, freedom is not a place that. Let me get this right. freedom is not something somebody gives to you. Freedom is a place that's found within you. And that's from being free from anxiety, free from depression, free from whatever it is you're struggling with, because the battle is normally within. Because a lot of times we can handle this outside. It's the battle within. And that a lot of people don't understand, that whether we're dealing with it when we go to sleep or whether we're dealing with it, alone by ourselves, when everybody's gone, I mean, we're fighting a battle,
but going back,
and a lot of times people don't understand it.
Going back to what Lindsey said, because when I was looking up panic attacks, like it's not related to anything that's happening like right then and there. You know what I'm saying? Like it's something, like you said, it's something in your subconscious that's like making you anxious and your body is physically reacting to it. Cause I'm just like, I'm fine. Like I just watched a funny movie and then I'm about to go to sleep and my heart just starts racing for no reason. So it's like, where is this coming from?
And that's the wisdom that is in your body. And this is what my therapist would say, when God made us, he made, my body and breathed life in it. So there's this like little period of time where like the wisdom of my body made in the image of God has wisdom that precedes my being in it. You know what I'm saying? Like, so there's so in those moments, like I've been told too, things are in my head. I've been told too, like feelings can't be trusted. However, I'm like, except it is physical. Yeah. Right? Like it's your body telling you. Yeah. Like in Chanel Miller's book, Know My Name, which is a fantastic book, she tells the story. She's a victim of trauma, and she tells the story about going scuba diving and how it was this beautiful moment with her body about how of course you have to regulate like how deep you can go and how high you can come up. And then you have like your body screams and requires things. So for her, learning to then kind of listen to her body again and trust her body, that act of scuba diving was this kind of inverted where her body was like, I'm telling you what we need to survive. Like you have to listen to me. Yes. And so in those moments like of a panic attack or anxiety attack, your body is saying, I am telling you. And so like to go, oh, I need to listen. Like I'm not listening. Yeah. And so what is it? And it does feel like it comes out of nowhere. You're like, this is not connected to anything, but your body's like, I'm telling you.
You need to calm your ass down.
Right. There is something deeper. And so like there is wisdom in your body, again, that's not in your thinking brain, like that is not there for you to go, oh, well, this thing happened, and so I responded in this way. Your body is, and likely there are things leading up to it that we have not acknowledged. That we haven't, and not recognized. And in those moments where you're like, your body says we need to survive, and I am ringing a bell right now that we need to deal.
Well, and I went, so when I was having them, when we were working out, I did come to this conclusion so Lindsey and I work out. Well, you do too, Suzlynn, but her and I work out, at a CrossFit gym. And so we're very competitive with ourselves and even with each other and in a nice, friendly way. Right. And so I literally would have them in the middle of working out. And I think it was because I'm like, I'm not doing my best. I think I was just pushing myself so hard and so like, you can do better. Like it's something so weird inside of you that doesn't even make sense because we're not getting paid for this. We're not getting paid. I know, right? I mean, like
nobody's going to pay me to do what we do at the gym.
Oh, girl.
But at least you had a person that you was competing with. I was competing with myself. Like, we're going to
even with yourself.
Better than what we did yesterday. And so I understand when you're saying that.
Well, what happened is, so I had to step away from working out for a little bit. And I did that for most of last year, actually. But this year I came back and I'm like, you know what? I'm working out. I'm going to do the best that I can. And I'm going to try to keep up with Lindsey because she's the beast of the gym. Everyone knows it. Whatever, Lindsey.
Yeah.
Everyone knows it.
Yeah.
Look, she looks very unassuming. This girl is a badass, Suzlynn, just FYI. And so honestly, this year I'm a lot calmer. You know, I'm still doing what I can do and I still push myself, but I'm not like in my head about, oh my gosh, I got to be up at the top of the freaking leaderboard. And everyone has their strengths. I can throw around weights and that's what it is. I can't do cardio. And so I have to just play to my strengths
for you,
and get
not
over it.
for something, some type of performance but
that's what I was doing. Yeah. I was trying to perform and be the best. And so everyone can be like, Leonette is strong and she's fast and she's this. And it's like, but for what? Why?
Right.
I think you take some of the enjoyment out of it.
Oh, and I did. That's why I stopped going. Yeah. It was not fun for me anymore.
Yeah. And the gym is fun for me. You know, I think when you take all the limitations and expectations off of it and just go and do you, I think that's where, you know, you can actually enjoy it for what y'all were doing. You probably was like, look, it's too much. I'm not going to be able to do this. But,
girl, you need to come work out with us and you'll see what I'm talking about.
No, she works out hard. So if you work out any harder than her, Lindsey, I don't know.
Well, what it is, Lindsey is well-rounded. She's good at all of it. So, but that's just one little example of how you can be in your head. It could be someone at work who's just trying to be the best that they can be and comparing themselves to other people. And that's where I've had to learn, okay, stop comparing yourself to other people. Do what you can do for Leonette. Like, this is what I can do, and I'm going to be happy for my accomplishments and not worry about who's standing beside me and what they're doing. Because what Lindsey does is awesome. I'm happy for her, but that's her strength. And what I do is my strength, and we shouldn't compare. And I think that's where a lot of anxiety and panic comes from.
I'd like the record to state I cannot lift as much as Leonette does.
Well,
so yeah, she can lift. I don't even know if I can do that. Like, there's a lot of things I can do, but I don't think I've seen her lift too.
No,
but you're right there, close by. Yeah, you are.
No,
okay. She's being humble. Okay. She's being humble, everybody. Oh man!
But you know, too, I think a lot of people too, you know, in the gym, that's a good example, because a lot of people go to the gym for a lot of different reasons, and that's what you have to understand. Everybody has a different purpose when they go to the gym. So for me, like, it would be, I'm going to clean the canvas of my mind. So that is actually one place I don't have anxiety. This is actually the one place I can actually just be free, because there's nobody in there but me and that mirror. That's it. Yeah. That's why I'm always in a zone. That's one place I actually honestly feel probably my freest. And I think that's why I try so many things, because I'm very free in there, because in my mind, I'm coming to wash the canvas of my mind. So tomorrow, when we wake up, God can use me in whatever way he needs to without anything extra on there. So the gym helps me a lot.
Well, it does now too. After I let go of my ego. Seriously, I'm gonna be honest. After I let go, no more panic attacks at the gym. Like, seriously, it's been crazy difference.
That's good work.
Yeah.
I'm like in denial about how competitive I am.
You're competitive. You are.
Is this an intervention?
You are, but I've had to come to terms with it, because it's like, oh no, we're all friends. No, I'm trying to beat her butt. I'm trying to beat her time. Dang it.
Yeah.
You are competitive.
Fine.
Yeah.
Okay.
I have a question for Lindsey. I know she talked about from a therapist's point of view. You know, there was a couple of things I wanted to just kind of touch on. One, you know, what do you think you've gained from, you know, being, you know, talking to a therapist? Like, what are like some of the things you've gained, you know, that may possibly even have helped, that would help us or even help anybody listening? Because I think, you know, when you have somebody to physically talk to, that's a little different. You know what I mean? Versus here I am a lot of times, you know, I always say, you know, when I'm talking, I'm like, Suzlynn, what are we going to do?
Yes.
This is just ridiculous. Like,
say your name.
I'm the therapist. Yeah. Suzlynn, I'm like, Suzlynn, what are we going to do? We actually have a problem here. And 911, we are the 911. So we're going to figure this out. Are we calling the doctor? Are we going to keep going through this for the next 3 or 4 years?
What are we doing?
Yeah. I mean, for real. I mean,
that's my therapist.
That's my truth. Yeah.
See, so Lindsey's the smart one. It's like, I'm going to seek help. and I are looking in the mirror, crying and talking to ourselves. What we do? What we doing?
And honestly, though, Lindsey, honestly, I'm the therapist for many people. So honestly, when I would pick up the phone, and this is real talk, nobody could help me because I help so many other people with their problems.
That's true.
Yeah.
So that was hard for me because when I have done it, it's so crazy. I'm almost like, man, what did I call for? I'll say, yeah, they normally never ask me how I'm doing. Because I always tell people, ask how I'm doing, like, not just like, how are you doing? Like, no, how are you doing mentally? Like, I can say, oh, today's phenomenal, because I could be saying it by faith. You don't know. But no, like say, Suzlynn, like, how are you doing? Like, I know you take care of Alexis, you're a single mom, you're back, doing your entrepreneur stuff. So, mentally, are you okay? Like, is everything good? No. Because when I get on there, the first thing is I'm the therapist. So
and that's so true about Suzlynn. You pour into people because that's her personality.
Yeah,
like
I can tell that.
She pours into so many people. So, that makes me so sad. So no one pours into you
I mean
the way.
like me and you, it's a back and forth. So it's a pouring back and forth. I don't get that all the time. So that's like rare. But I don't have a problem with pouring into other people. It's just like what I'm saying is, I think, when you talk to somebody physically, I think it can be very good in so many different ways. But it goes back to being a believer. A lot of times people think that, that's not, you shouldn't do that. Well, I beg to differ now. Now I have a full understanding. I think it's important to talk to somebody who you can trust and be very vulnerable and transparent and know that that's going to be secure right there and nobody's going to use that against you. Because I know for me, when I share my intimate places within my heart, it's very important to me that you hold that as gold. Now, if I say, hey, do whatever you want with it, that's fine. But if it's something I haven't really shared like that, I mean, of course I'm going to forgive you, but yeah, it would hurt me. You know what I mean? So to lay down your heart in somebody's lap, and you're going to shed a lot of tears, and for them to, kind of direct you and say, it's going to be okay. I'm going to walk with you step by step. That's huge.
Absolutely.
So how's that been for you?
Yeah, I think I reached the point where the way I was functioning, I'm an internalizer, so I take any of the stress that I'm feeling and it goes in. And I think that is rooted in my belief that there's something wrong with me, kind of back to like that being my root negative cognition, that there's something wrong with me. So I take any of those feelings, and I definitely grew up feeling like, or learning that there were positive feelings and bad feelings, to be angry or to be sad. It's some of what you were saying at the top, Suzlynn, about stigma around in Christian families and in growing up in Christian faith, that those were not, like, why would you ever need to be sad or mad when you have the hope of the Lord? And so when I felt those things, I thought I shouldn't feel these. And so there must be something wrong with me I am feeling them. So there must just be something wrong with me. So all of those feelings just went in, and that is unsustainable. And so I got to the point, where I was scaring myself. Like some of the things that I was thinking and feeling were scary to me. And, so to my therapist, I was able, I was desperate about how, when do you first go get help? When do you begin, Look,
let me raise my hand right now.
Yeah,
I got desperate and I called the doctor. Look, we got to figure this out. I don't want to deal with this no more.
Yeah,
I want to figure out what's wrong.
It's exhausting.
And you're right. You said a word that is so on point, is I got desperate. I got tired of being tired and trying to figure it out. This is just not working. And when you get tired of being tired and the pain outweighs the pleasure, you're going to say, I've got to do something.
That's right.
Because doing nothing is not going to work for me. And I'm concerned if I don't do something, I don't know what the outcome's going to look like. It could get worse. I mean, we don't know, but I'd rather seek somebody out and see if they can guide me and help me so that I can overcome this and get down to the root of why I'm feeling the way I'm feeling and why I'm dealing with this in my life right now.
Yeah. So I think for me, getting to that point where I am scaring myself and I'm not sure what will happen if I don't get help. So having a therapist who would validate what I'm saying, help me through some of those, being honest about really how I felt, which, I mean, I'd done therapy and not been honest. So it's not that you go to therapy and if you aren't honest, but also but that's again where you're kind with yourself about, and that's why I think the Lord is kind. You could not handle the depths from the jump, the Lord is kind that you just keep peeling the pieces of the onion back, but so being with my therapist and being validated in those feelings, but also truly that the EMDR therapy of getting back to the root of what that particular memory is. And then the R part of EMDR is reprocessing. So you overlay, you literally go back to the memory in your mind. And I'm sitting there
and you had no clue what it was?
Well,
or you had an idea?
In the therapy, she's guiding me through a memory, think of a time when you felt that way. Okay, I think of this. And then you kind of try to think younger. And then you think of another memory. And then you try to think younger. And you get to the point where you're like, I think that was the start of it. I think I was 11 years old. So you kind of get to oh, that was the memory. There it is. Yeah. And so, and so she's asking you questions about, she lays out your negative cognition, I am defective. And, on a scale of 1 to 10, how true is that of you in that moment? And I was a 10, I was thinking of myself and and you're just snot and crying, completely an involuntary, my body is, I'm letting that out for the first time since I was 10 or 11, so it's coming out. And so, but again, the beauty, so talking about the benefit of seeing a professional and I'm a verbal processor. So I can talk to a lot of friends, and Suzlynn, I love to talk with and share, and I am open book. But having someone who is being paid to listen to you is also very helpful. And they have skills, right? So finding a therapist who is trained on how to not just listen to you, because I don't think the saying of words, because I'm a verbal processor, listen, I can talk all I want, but that don't mean you're gonna get healed. You know what I'm saying? Having somebody who is trained in it and can help. There's a ton of therapy. So in this book that I mentioned, The Body Keeps the Score, there are a lot of different types of therapies that can access your body and all this.
So can I, instead of seeing a therapist, can I get that EMDR from reading the book?
No.
And just do it by myself? No, you can't.
No, you're crazy. No, you gotta have help doing that.
I'll be your therapist, and you could be my therapist.
That's all this EMDR.
So the beautiful part, again, the last bit of that is reprocessing. So you identify your negative cognition, of course, from your memories, and then your positive cognition, and you overlay that over the memory. And so you're kind of rerouting. You're going back to my 11-year-old self. And being so kind to her and acknowledging that many of the kind of idiosyncrasies that I picked up after that were coping mechanisms because I thought there was something wrong with me.
Oh my gosh. Why is 11 the magic number?
I don't know.
11 is the magic number for me. I'm sure there's something before 11, but 11 I know for sure.
Yeah. I don't know. And I don't know that there's a real root behind what particular age. I don't remember. It's a guess for me. I remember the event. I don't know how old I was, but I can think, I think I was in early middle school, so I'm I think I was 11, it's that kind of thing.
Wow.
Do you feel like anxiety and depression go hand in hand?
Yes. Yeah. For me, I think the depression is the first one, and anxiety would follow it. I would feel the depression first, and then the anxiety to me. And I think that's where
I think for me it's
and it maybe sounds like the way that you both have talked about it.
And then I distance myself from people. So if you don't see me for a while, it's because I'm hiding in my cave called my home.
This is true.
Yeah. Yes. No, it's true. And it's because I'm you know what? I need to recharge. I need to be by myself. I don't want people to see this side of me because I am the happy party girl.
There's a lot of shame there.
You isolate yourself so that you can at least try to figure it out and contain and I don't like to bring negativity to other people.
Correct,
so for me, I need to be by myself, and recharging is just normal for me because just from pouring into so many other people, I have to. And that's why I explain to a lot of my friends is, a lot of times I may talk to you, but I go through a recharging stage where I have to be by myself.
Same.
That's just, I've learned that that's my personality. I mean, once you learn who you are, it makes life a lot, easier. And I think that's where, this anxiety and depression, I think this is where, I feel like I'm at a place now where I'm learning to face Suzlynn, and I'm okay with that. You know what I'm saying? I'm okay with the things that I look like. I know there's some things that are wrong. And for a long time, I thought that, we could handle that. And I believe God allows you to get to a certain place in your life to where you can face that, and that may be your Goliath, and that just, these two happen to be my Goliath. And, I want to see what's going on. I want to understand it, because for me, it's important not to just take a medication for it. I need to understand, like, what is this, where it came from. And I want to hear it from, another person's perspective, kind of like what you talked about with a therapist. Mine will come through, a follow-up appointment with a doctor who deals with this. It's good to hear different people's perspective, because you can chew up the meat and spit out the bone. It doesn't mean that everything that they say is the truth, but I guarantee you some of that stuff that they tell you, you're going to say, that's exactly how I feel. And yes, you're right. Okay, tell me more, because I'm taking notes. Because for me, if there's anything that I can tell somebody where I'm at right now in my life with anxiety and depression, I would have to say, and I really just got this today, really, is if you really want to overcome that, you need to have a plan. You pause for a cause to figure out, where it came from. You got to have a plan to dive in. And to dive in is that internal work. And that internal work may require you to touch some places that may not be healed and pull back a Band-Aid that you thought that was totally healed that is not healed. And then even through the healing process, there's some forgiveness, and not just forgiveness for what opened that door, but forgiveness for yourself. And sometimes that's the hardest thing, is forgiving yourself. I know I struggled with it, and I have, throughout my years, and I've learned to be kinder to Suzlynn. I've learned to let Suzlynn know that it's okay to make mistakes, because I used to be like, I cannot make these type of mistakes. I wouldn't give myself room. Well, that's silly. I don't even minister like that. When I've ministered to people, I'm like, that's a part of growth. Well, what exempts you from that? I'm like, this perfectionist. Well, you're not that perfect. And it's okay that you're not that perfect. You know what I mean? And people love that you're not that perfect, because they're not either. And it gives them freedom, to be able to not be perfect too.
Yeah.
There's some beauty in that.
Can I ask a deep question?
Yeah.
And you guys,
it's your podcast.
You guys may not want to answer it, but this is, so like when people talk about depression, and we've all had that, have you ever guys contemplated suicide? And I know in our faith, that's like a big, big no-no. But have you thought about that ever?
I can tell you definitely. And I've never, ever, I love life. Let me just put that out there first. And this lets you know, that there's so much to this, anxiety, when a door is open. And that was actually whenever I was married. And I remember I had gotten so depressed. My mom was concerned. My mom actually could speak on this. I was in my early 20s, and it was to the point where I was just like, I didn't want to live. I was just tired of fighting with this. It was so hard. And I'm like, how do you even get that? Like, my mom was saying, like, it was like, I was saying it, but my mom was like, we were battling. Like, I was like, no, I don't. But yeah, I do. No. Yeah. No. Yeah. So have I ever thought about it? That was probably the one time that I actually thought about it, because I got into a very deep place, but I never thought about it before after that, but I did that one time. One time I did think about that.
Yeah.
And that was in a very, very dark place though.
Oh yeah. That's a scary place to be. And yes, I was thinking about, and that when I mentioned, like I was afraid, like I was scared because of the things I was thinking. And that I think most people thought about it at some point.
Man,
Like, I would
okay.
question, like, if you hadn't,
My
that
husband
would seem unusual.
This
to
is
me.
not, I don't want to put his business out there, but I've asked him that and he said he's never in his life. I'm like, well,
I think a lot of times,
don't you have your stuff
but you know,
together?
too, I mean,
Jeez.
and that's
Never,
great.
but I have for sure.
I don't think you want to feel like you want to die. Let me
did.
rephrase
I
this.
wanted to die
Let me rephrase
in my
it.
early 20s.
Okay, you just want you want to be over it. Like you don't want to deal with it anymore.
relief.
You want relief. So
That's true.
I guess that's the best way to describe it. Is I couldn't see myself doing it, but I had to cross my mind.
true.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. I think for me, the feeling was, I just wanted to be like gone.
Yeah.
You know, like,
Exactly.
and I think, and what was scaring me was thinking about it. And I couldn't picture actually harming myself.
Exactly.
But if I did, I would have thoughts like, okay, I'm standing here in the kitchen. What, then my family's going to come home and they're going to find me right here. Like I think through all these logistics.
Yeah.
And that's what my therapist, she was like, so the logistics talk you out of it? And I'm like,
Yeah.
like it'd just be a big hassle.
That's too much. It'd be messy.
Yeah.
Just messy,
Like,
messy.
And then like literally like Chris would walk in the door and like he'd be with the kids and that sucks.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah,
I don't wanna
for
do
that-
that. Yeah.
yeah.
So, and so, but again, what scared me was what if the logistics don't talk me out of it?
Yeah.
Because like there were checks in there. Like I would feel it and I'd be like, well, that doesn't, I don't actually.
Because you want
wanna
everything
do
to make
it.
sense.
I'm like, I don't
Yeah.
actually, I'm not actually going to harm myself.
Yeah.
But I was afraid, like, what if that check doesn't come? And so that's where I was like, I
Need help.
I need some help here. And it was more about being gone. And I remember watching the movie A Star is Born. That had Lady Gaga. And,
Dude,
was it
that
Bradley Cooper?
yes, that made me cry
Listen,
like a baby.
I was like, that needs
that
a
was-
trigger warning on it because
I cried. with
spoilers if you haven't seen the movie. But at the end,
Yeah.
I remember my husband and I were riding home in the car, and his reaction initially was, it's so sad that her love for him wasn't enough.
Oh,
And I remember feeling mad because I'm like, I'm sorry, that's not why someone kills themselves.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They think like, because to me, I was like, I think people do it because they think it's the kindest thing to their family.
Yeah.
Like they believe so deeply
Like I'm a burden.
that's right. That everything would be better off without, and maybe that's just me. Like that's what I was feeling.
Oh
Like,
no, when I
and so
thought
I'm
about
like,
it, that's what I
made me
thought.
sad. I was like, no. And listen, it's twisted. Like we need you, Suzlynn. We need you living, Leonette. Like that's twisted.
It is.
But it is. I said, I think sometimes people think they're doing the best for their family.
Yeah.
Like so it's not that like your love's not enough. They're going, it would be better without me here, which is
And you guys will be fine without me. You'll be okay.
Is not the truth. But anyway, so it just and that's again, and in that moment, as upset as I was hearing him have that reaction and not understanding why someone would do it, that again, that showed me like, I need to get some help because I'm here mad that he wouldn't understand why that would happen.
And you're like, I understand perfectly, damn it. Like,
Right. Or just like, it made
And he
me
was
think,
tormented on the inside. There's no amount of love from a human, from a person on this earth that is going to make that go away, because we have to love ourselves. And that's where it stems from. Going back to you, Suzlynn, saying that we just feel like we're screw ups or like there's something wrong with me. And that's where the feeling of suicide comes in. It's like, I'm a screw up. This sucks. I'm hurting, and people would be better off without my presence. And it's a very sad place to be.
And, let me stack on, where I was also in my life. So, because there's triggers with that, with that deep depression, I was in a very bad marriage. And so I was very miserable. And for me, when I make decisions, even at a young age, I try to think a lot of things out. So I don't think of, going into a marriage and being divorced and then, coming out of, going into a marriage and I'm miserable. So there were so many things that had happened in my marriage that, brought me to that place where I was just like, oh my gosh, like I'm so over this. And it wasn't like, I never looked at myself as harming myself. I just wanted this to be over with. You know, I was tired of struggling with the depression. I was tired of being in a bad marriage, and I didn't sign up for all that. And it had threw me in such a deep depression. I just wanted out, which is what I did. So I had to make a decision, you know, because it was affecting me. It was affecting me mentally. It was affecting me spiritually, emotionally. I mean, in every way. And I had to make a decision. And my decision was, I decided to divorce, because my happiness and, you know, what I carried within me meant more to me than what I was experiencing. And it was bringing out all the bad things that I had never, ever even thought of, dreamed of. It wasn't part of my plan. And when I start seeing stuff like that, seeds coming in my life like that, I know that I have to make a decision. If nobody else does, I have to make that decision. And when it got to that place, and I contacted my mom, I already knew that it was, we need to make a decision, and we need to make it quick.
And I think, and I love that you say that, Suzlynn, because I feel like a lot of people that are in that state. So for me, it was 2 different times. It was in high school around 16. And then the next time would have been my early 20s after I had Kaylin. So it's like, I'm a single mom. I have this little baby. This is not the way I envisioned my life to be. And it was just like you feel like that is it forever and ever and ever. Like that's your life. And this is it.
You don't see another way.
No. And so, but my thing is, like you said, you had a choice. You had a choice to divorce. Me, I had a choice to suck it up. I have this baby and I need to get my crap together, finish school, get a job. And once I wrapped my head around that, like, be a big girl and you got this, we're doing this. Only God pulled me out of that deep, deep darkness. He's the only, I can't even explain it. He took me out of there, and I'm going to cry again. But my life today is so beautiful. 2 more kids after that, an amazing husband. And if I would have gone through with that, I would not have been able to experience what I'm experiencing now. And so for those who are thinking about that, it gets better. It gets better.
It does.
And you're at a turning point in your life where you have to decide. You have to decide. And it's going to be a tough decision, but it gets so much better.
It's worth it.
Yeah, it's worth it.
You're worth it. How about that? You're worth it.
That's right.
That's
You're worth that
work. You're worth it. You're worth the work that you have to go through in order to find that little girl within you. She deserves a chance.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I think that's what people have to understand. I just like, Lynette and me and you talk a lot about this, but, me being 46 years old, I feel like I'm just now getting in touch with that little girl, and that little girl is allowing me to be free and to go, to these places within me that still need to be healed, and I think that is a beautiful thing, but also being able to come out and be a little girl, like I'm 46, but I'm like, you'll see me walk around with Pooh Bear slippers on, but that's the little girl in me. So you got to understand, a lot of things were robbed from me, when between marriage and, being, when I was growing up. So, it's just, you're worth it. At the end of the day, like Linda, you're worth it. You're worth the work. You're worth everything that you choose to do. You're worth it.
And life gets better. It does.
And life gets better. I promise you. That's just a moment. That's not your entire story. That I won't even give that the benefit of being a chapter in your life. I'll take that as just a sentence. That's all you're going to get from me, because you're getting no more than that. I'm sorry. I'll take that little sentence and be done with that, but you won't even get the full chapter.
Yeah.
I think something you said earlier, Suzlynn, about like kind of the length of the battle and like lessons along the way. And I think there is a level of patience and kindness if you are at that place where you're like, I need help. Like I need somebody's help here. But to be, these are not quick fixes, and to be patient and kind to yourself. Cause I spent a long time in that stigma of, I should have my ish together. I shouldn't be dealing with this again. And just really beating myself up about it. And so to be kind and to go, it is one day at a time.
Yes.
Of showing up and doing the work and being kind to yourself and then doing the next day, so just as people who struggle or who are like realizing maybe I need to get some help. Like just like be patient, buckle in, you know, like I'm going to be fighting these battles for the rest of my life. And I will, there is freedom. There is a before and after.
There is,
but just to be patient, you know, with yourself. Cause like you said, Suzlynn, there are things along the way, to that freedom. And I love that as, you know, you asking like, what do you get out of therapy? You know, like it really is that. It is a level of freedom from these things that haunt you, that show up and feels like out of nowhere, but freedom really is the goal. That's right.
Yeah.
And
go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, and then also for me, I see where I've come from and I see where I am today. And so I wake up and I'm like thankful and grateful. And I try to find things that, you know, that bring me joy and that I'm grateful for, like my kids' health and, you know, my husband and my marriage and just thinking like, wow, how far have I come? And he pulled me out of that. And so that kind of brings me back into like, okay, like I've been somewhere way worse than where I am today. So let's smile, let's be happy. And so that helps me personally to just see, okay, this is where he has brought me. And it's been a freaking amazing journey. So
I think other resources like 12-step programs, like even if it's not a substance abuse or an addiction like that, I believe I have compulsions, like things that I like that need for control, the need for tidiness or however it manifests for you, like is a compulsion. And so there have been, there's a lot to be learned from like 12-step programs and some of those processes. And again, kind of viewing that as like, it's a daily sobriety. It's a daily, you know, kind of this daily choice. Russell Brand has a book titled Recovery that's about his story of recovery. The audio book is fantastic. He reads it now.
Like Russell Brand, the actor
and the comedian.
Yeah.
Yes. The audio book is wonderful because he reads it. There's some language. So
I'm sure with him.
You know, I appreciate some well-used expletives. So if that's you, then I recommend the book. But anyway, that's enough. There's lots of resources. You know, if you can't afford therapy or like, you know, there's things that there are unfortunately hurdles to getting help.
Oh yeah.
You know, insurance or how, you know, just paying for it. So there's a lot.
Well, and then also, you know, what people don't understand is there are options out here now. So churches do help.
That's
Churches have even gotten involved with even mental health issues. So it's really just seeking somebody out, and even a friend. You'd be surprised in how many friends are willing to help you. If a friend called me and needed help like that, it's nothing. Like, let's go and let's figure this out together, because sometimes you just need that. It's not an age thing. Sometimes you need somebody to just say, you know what, I'm going to walk with you every step of the way and you're going to be okay. I promise you. So it's just letting people know there's options. There are resources out there now. And even as a believer, it's okay to say, I'm not okay.
That's right.
Well, I love you ladies. I feel like this was a conversation that I really wanted to have. And I'm so appreciative that you guys were very vulnerable and opened up. And yeah, I mean, this is deep stuff that I feel like a lot of us struggle with by ourselves. And it's important to talk about these things. Yeah. So I want to leave us with a quote because I love quotes, like I always say. So the one I love that I found it says, I don't know who wrote it, but it says, don't adapt to the energy in the room. Influence the energy in the room. So yeah, just continue to go out there and be yourself. So
thanks for having us.
Free.
Thank you, ladies.
Love you. Thank you too.
Bye, Suzlynn.
Bye-bye.
Everything I've been through and everything that I've seen has turned me into the woman that you see behind all of the smiles and all your favorite melodies. What a fistful of tears, years from the pain.